So what we're talking about today is day one. We're just gonna go over the basic steps. And your day one's gonna be a little bit different than the other chiropractors' day one because it'll be a little similar and the same. The purpose of day one is, of course, to diagnose the condition. That's the main purpose of day one. But then there's all these other little things we want to do, like we want to get to know the patient a little bit. But for chiropractors, trust is a huge issue. Trust is a big issue for every profession. What I'm teaching you on is what we call active listening skills, where active listening simply means I have goals and objectives, things that I need to extract from your brain, and so I'm going to control and actively control your mind and the data you give to me because I have goals and objectives and I'm going to achieve them. So, and it's a very intense, it's a very active form of listening. I'm not going to sit back and say, tell me all about your health and problems. I'm going to say, here's the details I want, give them to me, and don't get distracted. So my question is, have you ever been to a chiropractor before? Yes or no? If they say yes, then I'm going to go good experience or bad. See how selective it is? Good or bad.
You're focusing on yes or no questions versus open-ended questions.
No, we do both. And actually, and you got to know when to use which type of question because this is so focused. So it's yes or no, because I'm controlling them, because I don't want them to tell me about the 17 chiropractors they've been to in their lifetime and the miracle cure they had. Because I don't care. It's irrelevant. The reason I'm asking the question is I'm looking for an obstacle and I'm looking for trust. See, I have clear goals on my objectives. If you say yes, I'm going to say good or bad experience, because if you've had a good experience, what's his trust level?
Higher.
It's going to be high. If he says no, now I don't know if his trust is high or low. There's a good chance it's low, right? That's the information I want. I don't want all the other stuff, and it's distracting and it's a waste of time. And the other thing, when you stay focused and are doing active listening because it's so intense, it demonstrates that number one, you always want to be in control. It establishes I am the doctor, I am in control. And they like that. If they're nervous, they want somebody who's in control, dominant. You know, this is who you are as a person. So if you're a passive doctor, this is going to put you in charge and they're going to respect you and they're going to understand that you're doing something. You want that surgeon who walks in and goes, I'm a great guy, I'm nice, but I'm very focused. And I got a job to do, and I'm going to do it, and you're not going to tell me how to do my job. I'm going to do it. That's the guy you want. So this is what active listening does, and that makes people feel very safe and very, very comfortable. So have you been a chiropractor before? Yes or no? Boom, I got the info I want. No? Okay, so are you nervous? That's my follow-up question. Are you nervous? And they'll say yes a little bit or no. If they say no, I move on. I'm not worried about trust. If they say yeah, and you do the same thing as a naturopath. Have you been to a naturopath before? No. This follows for you very quickly. Just go yes. Okay, good experience. If they say yes, fantastic. I hope you have a good experience with me. Boom, move on. If they say no, say, are you nervous? And most people it's hard for them to say yes or no, or they'll say a little bit. And they say, great, why are you nervous? Is there, and then you have to go because they just told you, I have an obstacle. And anytime you have an obstacle, when you're active listening, depending on the obstacle, anytime there's an obstacle, you want to stop and resolve that obstacle. So you're in this mode, you're going to go, I have all these questions, and all of a sudden, boom, obstacle popped up. Put it on hold. Please tell me. That's an open-ended question. Why? What are you nervous about? Is it something I can help you with? Be real blunt, honest, straightforward, and sometimes they'll say, well, blah, 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 and you will not move on until you know what the obstacle is. If it's a minor obstacle, you ignore it. If it's a major obstacle, you address it. And there's ways you address obstacles. So really quickly, the way you address an obstacle is you clarify it, make sure you define it clearly, exactly, well, I got hurt last time I went to a chiropractor. That's a big obstacle. Okay, what did the chiropractor do? How did they do it? Tell me what happened. I need to understand. Or the chiropractor recommended this long treatment program. That's a big obstacle. Why? Did you not get good results? Do you think they overcharged you? Define clearly what the obstacle is. Yeah, I came in, he charged me $5,000. Okay, and you thought that was unfair. See, I don't assume I know. I want clarity. You thought that was unfair. Yeah, it was a lot. I felt better after my 5th visit. Okay, so you feel like he treated you way too much, charged you way too much and he was in it for the money? Is that the impression you got? Yeah, I didn't feel like I needed all those treatments. Well, that sounds like, and now I know. So that was your only beef with the dude, is he treated you way too much and he charged you more than you thought actually was necessary. Right? And this is one that will come up. And the problem is when people throw obstacles, we're smart, we're clever, we're doctors, we've heard this 1,000 times, and we stop and we go, I know what your concern is, don't worry about it. Bad. You do not. When there's an obstacle, you define it, then you restate it back. So let me make sure I got this straight. You went to a chiropractor before years ago, he treated you, got great results, but then he kept treating you and you didn't think that was necessary and he charged you a lot. And so it felt like, yeah, he's a good chiropractor, but he's just in it for the money and he ripped me off. Is that your problem? Then you wait and you want to clear. So you're nodding your head a little bit. I know we're just pretend role playing, but you're nodding your head a little bit. Did you have any other concerns about your chiropractic care? So that was your only concern. See how he's giving me a weak response because he doesn't realize we're role playing? Yeah. And then, but I want to, so you don't have any other concerns other than that. Okay. Now I've got it clearly defined. And then my next thing is I'm going to jump to his side. That sucks. I would be pissed off. Someone ripped me off, giving me unnecessary care. I mean, at least he fixed your condition. Hopefully that was worth the $5,000. Obviously you think it was because you paid for it, but I would be absolutely pissed off if I was getting unnecessary care. And let me just tell you this, Travis, I won't do that to you. If I recommend care, it's because you need it. And I'm going to tell you up front what we charge, okay? So you'll know in advance exactly what we're going to charge, and I will always try and explain exactly why we're doing what we're doing, okay? Is that fair? Because if I didn't address that, when I go recommend a program, he's going to say, you're just like the other chiropractor. But I just told him, we agree, that dude's a dirtbag. I'll never do that to you. And I can't tell you, because that concern scares the piss out of most chiropractors. They don't know how to address it, so they don't address it. It stays in the back of his mind, and then when they recommend a program, the guy goes, you're just as bad as that other chiropractor was, and now we have a bad name. But the way I did it is I just resolved your concern. Then when I recommend the program, I'm gonna make sure and guess what? On day 2, day 3, day 4, I'm explaining, here's what you need and here's why you need it. And then when I recommend the program, they all sign up. Like, so when I get that concern on a day 1, I'm like, sweet, this dude's mine, because I know what to do. Does that make sense? You don't have this problem, now I'm training him more than you, but you get the point. So the standard is always the same. As we do active listening, we're looking for obstacles. When we hit an obstacle, we stop what we're doing, clarify the problem, restate the problem back, make sure that's 100% of the problem, and they're stating this, and then we jump to their side, let them know that we are emotionally on their side, and then we resolve it. Now I can tell them, here's why you're not gonna have that problem here. They hurt you at the last place, you know what, I'm gonna be extra careful. I do hurt people sometimes, but I'll tell you before I do, and I'll do it for a reason, and I'll tell you why. So we're just trying to set them up. And this is a kind of manipulation, but it's a altruistic kind of manipulation. It's the same way I would manipulate my children for their own good. And that's why I tell you, what we're trying to do is help them see the truth. So again, if you're in your own head thinking about yourself, or you're thinking about the money, or you're worried about, meeting your goals or your deadlines, stuff like that, you're screwed. They will sense it and they will know. If you're 100% focused on what's best for them, what's going to be good in the long term, this is their money, their decision, they get to decide. It's my job to lay it out clearly, the pros and cons of each one. Bond, move on. Did you go to a chiropractor before? Yes, good experience? Great, you'll have a good experience here too. Second, or I hope you have a good experience here. No? Why not? Tell me your concern. Oh, it didn't seem to help much. Well, hopefully I'll get better results for you this time. Boom, move on. That fast. Next question.
So,
What brings you in
yeah.
today?
Huh?
What brings you in today?
Yep. Now you're going open-ended. And we'll go into open-ended. The pattern for stuff like this is typically open-ended, menu, reverse negative. You got that down? Open-ended means top of mind consciousness. What brings you in today? You're gonna say, my shoulder, whatever your big complaint is, 9 times out of 10, they're gonna tell you, this is my big complaint. You better make sure it's their big complaint, because you always want the number one thing when you say open-ended question, what's your main complaint? If they start listing them off, or going off on a tangent, say, what is the number one? You gotta narrow it down, because you're active listening, and they start listing off a whole list of conditions. Excuse me. What's your biggest complaint? What's the number one thing, if you could get out of your life, you would, physically? I just want your biggest one. I understand you have a bunch of other conditions. I need your biggest one. Otherwise, and again, you don't want to be rude, so you always go, otherwise I'll get confused. See, it's on me. This is why I'm being rude, because you're going to confuse me. You don't want to confuse me. I'm not going to say, you're rambling, you're taking too long. I don't care about those other things. Hey, what's your main complaint? So get to the main complaint. Now, let's adapt it to you. When someone comes in, first of all, you're not going to say, how'd you hear about the office? You're going to say, I see here that you came from Dr. Gamby or Dr. Johnson or Dr. Johns, and that we're checking you today for this specific condition. He thinks you have a torn rotator. You want to just summarize it really, really quick, and then for you to bond, now you're a female, so I probably, not just that you're a female, but you're very socially adept. So do it however you want. Bond with them, do it quickly. I don't have to give you tips, but what I would do is say something like, if I did, I'd say something like, looks like you're coming here for a torn rotator with Dr. Johns, sent you over here. And then you'd be like, how long have you been treating with Dr. Johns? Oh, 2 weeks? I love that guy. Big muscles. Something like that. No, you want to do that. You want to get the chuckle out of him, or you want to be like, you want to say something to bond with them. Do you like him?